going to be dissecting some of the latest data when it comes to the winter storm set to impact some parts of the United States as we go through today, through Wednesday, and then it's really going to end as we go into Wednesday night and the very early part of Thursday. I hope this live stream is working for everybody. This is going to be a very quick morning brief. I'm recording this. The time is on the bottom right side of your screen that I'm doing this, 7:53 in the morning in Eastern Time. And of course, this will be posted throughout the day, so anybody can go back and look at the latest information that I've posted here. But let's go ahead and jump on over to this graphic right here so that you can see the latest overview that I've made here for the winter storm expected as we go from today through our February 20th, where we're looking at least the possibility of moderate snow. You know the drill: Nebraska, Kansas, parts of northern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, through parts of the Ohio and Tennessee Valley, and then over to the Mid-Atlantic. A little bit of ice down there, especially through Oklahoma and Arkansas. Then we'll see a secondary area really get itself together as you get over closer to the Carolinas as we go through Wednesday. We'll also have to watch some of those storms down closer to the Gulf Coast. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right over here to the latest timing of this system using the latest NAM model run. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. As we go through this morning on our Tuesday, we're continuing to watch some snow develop, and it's going to build through the day with parts of Wichita, Emporia there in Kansas, over to Kansas City in Missouri, down to Springfield, Missouri, looking at some snow. And the further south you go in these states and closer to the Oklahoma and Arkansas borders, right down here, that's where we're going to get some of that heaviest snowfall out of this entire event, and I've been stressing that in my video updates. This is where we're going to have the best chance for up to a foot of snow in some cases, so from Wichita to Joplin to Springfield, prepare for pretty moderate to major impacts from this decent rate of snow that we're going to be picking up throughout the day. Down here into central Oklahoma, west central parts of Arkansas, probably that icy mix developing by the time we get especially into the afternoon. That will push south and east with snow filtering into at least the northern half of Oklahoma and the northern third of Arkansas by the time the sun goes down tonight. Still snowing in Wichita, still snowing in Springfield, Missouri, still up to Columbia, Missouri, even looking at some possible snow once we get past sundown on our Tuesday evening. We'll also at that point begin watching some of these showers and storms down here closer to Texas and Louisiana, as whatever develops down there closer to the Gulf Coast will have that potential to become severe, especially as you get right towards that immediate Gulf Coast along that I-10 corridor from Houston to New Orleans. That's where we're going to have that best chance for isolated damaging winds and isolated tornadoes with anything that builds up through the night tonight. You can see that action as well as just general rain expected to move over parts of Louisiana and Mississippi as we go through 1, 2, 3 a.m. into our Wednesday morning. Around that same time, maybe a little bit of ice here through some parts of south central Arkansas and north central parts of Mississippi. Snow to the north of that. I think Little Rock and Memphis are at least set for a little bit of snow, but it's not going to be the biggest event there. Better chance for more moderate snow at least out of this event, where we could get closer to 6 inches possibly in some cases. Going to be out of southeast Missouri, far southern Illinois, far southern Indiana, into western Kentucky and northwest Tennessee. Nashville, I think you're only getting a few inches out of this, as it looks like a lot of that snow is going to be kind of quick hitting and starting to break up as it moves through your area around the early to mid-morning hours of our Wednesday, and around that same time is when we start to see some of this banking on up into the central Appalachians with this latest timing. A little bit of ice, a little bit of rain in some parts of north central Georgia, but you quickly get down to regular rain from Atlanta to Birmingham, back down to west central parts of the Florida Panhandle around that same time. So again, into Wednesday, this is that time where I said in yesterday's video, this is where this storm could kind of break up as it goes past the mountains and then try to reform a little bit closer to the coast with new moisture. I think it's still going to be a little bit of a toss-up as to how this system performs in this general area here of western Virginia into western North Carolina, northern parts of South Carolina. We know we're going to get at least a few inches of snow banking up into the central Appalachians up there, eastern Kentucky, West Virginia. But once you get just past those mountains, how much of this moisture is going to make it through? And then when do we start seeing more moisture coming up from the coast to feed ice and snow here in eastern North Carolina, at least, and parts of southeast Virginia? That's what we're going to have to watch. This whole area right here where I'm drawing the X is going to be a little bit of a toss-up for some of this weather, I think. And maybe I'll provide another update as we get towards tonight, a quick one to see what happens with this as we continue to dissect the latest data. But for now, it looks like an icy mess over far southern and central parts of North Carolina with whatever we get winter weather-wise into our evening hours of our Wednesday especially. Snow would be most likely into southeast Virginia and northeast parts of North Carolina with this current projection. while back down there towards parts of Georgia and Florida, we'd be watching our rainfall threat kind of breaking up there as we go through the rest of the day on Wednesday. Then as we get overnight Wednesday night and into the morning hours of our Thursday, the only remaining story for most zones is going to be some of the snowfall, with some energy working through the Ohio Valley and down here through the central and southern Appalachians. Some of this could make it past the mountains, ironically, and start moving towards the system. If moisture with the system itself didn't make it past the mountains, maybe some of this lingering energy kind of wrapping around the back end will. We'll see what happens with that. That would only provide light to moderate impacts coming through the Appalachians as we go into our Thursday morning. But look at that. I mean, that could bring some light to moderate snow through the end of Wednesday and then into Wednesday night over a lot of parts of the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and down into the Appalachians region. So that's something we'll be tracking. That's all I got for that quick overview there. Let's go ahead and jump on over here and give you a quick look at the latest forecasted snowfall totals out of this particular winter storm. Let's actually transition over to this graphic here. Hopefully you can see these numbers on the screen. Overall, the forecast hasn't changed much since my video that I made last night, Monday night, but right now the current forecast for the remainder of this event, you could still pick up an additional inch or two here through some parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. Obviously, most of your snowfall, though, is transitioning here from when I'm recording this Tuesday morning and then moving southeast. Parts of southeast Kansas here looking to get at least 3 to 6 inches of additional snow on top of what's already been falling and has been starting to fall this morning. Right in this zone right here looks to be that bullseye. Again, southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, especially southern Missouri has remained really in the heart of that heavier snow track into northern parts of Arkansas, looking at upwards of 6 inches of snow through most of these zones I have circled, and in some cases we are going to get closer to that 10, 11, 12-inch mark as this event rolls on. Again, some of the snow has already been kind of developing over Kansas this morning, so obviously there's already been some snow that started to fall here in some parts of south central Kansas, and that explains why the totals have gone down just a little bit since my last update about 14 hours ago last night. Let's shift on over here to the eastern side of these snow totals. Oh yeah, by the way, down towards Oklahoma City, over to Little Rock, over to Memphis, still looking at just a dusting to a couple inches in most of those zones. By the way, make sure you're hitting that like button on this quick update so that it hits more people even after I'm done with this quick brief. But let's go ahead and pivot on over here to the east with the forecast snow totals. This will include some of that light snow that we'll get Wednesday night and into Thursday as well on that kind of wraparound band towards the tail end of the system. Indiana, Ohio, maybe an inch, and a lot of that's just going to come from that quick snow as we go through Wednesday night and into Thursday. Main band is going to be right down here. Most of these zones in the blues, especially through a lot of Kentucky, getting 3 to 6 inches. A lot of southern Illinois, a lot of southern Indiana, and a lot of northern Tennessee in that 3 to 6 inch range. Maybe back here towards far southern Illinois, literally on that border with Kentucky, we could get closer to 6 or 7, locally higher amounts. Again, these numbers aren't necessarily going to be perfect. Down here is where it's a little bit more of a toss-up. Been talking about that. We'll have to see how that plays out. Maybe we'll get some data that really hones in on exactly what we could see in this region later today. But one thing I can tell you for sure, once you get out of far north central North Carolina and central Virginia and out of West Virginia, where a lot more spots are expecting at least 3 inches, as you get closer to the coast in Virginia, North Carolina, that's where you start to pick up those totals of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches of snow being anticipated for now. And the best chance for that's going to be along that Virginia, North Carolina border, before it looks like most of this pushes away. And if we see anything on the coast here across the mid-Atlantic and southern New England, it would only be an inch or two in most cases, and most of it looks to be staying out to sea from there. By the way, last thing, all the way on up here in the northeast U.S., watching some very heavy snow here into central New York, lake induced. But with that being said, that's all I have for this quick live update here across the United States. Let's just talk about high temperatures across the country for today real quick, and then we're going to move on. Let's look at the National Digital Forecast Database and what it is calling for in terms of those temperatures across the country. Here we are looking at those maximum temperatures for today on our Tuesday. Temperatures in the negatives all the way through the central plains, so even if you're not snowing, looking at temperatures only reaching -1, -2, -3 here in places like Nebraska, down to Oklahoma, even only reaching 15 to 25 degrees. We've got more teens and some 20s being possible here into the interior northeast in the Ohio Valley, so it's plenty cold ahead of whatever light snowfall precipitation we might even see in this region of the Ohio Valley as we go out of today and into Wednesday. Closer to the Gulf Coast, it is going to be a little bit of a warmer day as we got numbers in the 40s and 50s, and, you know, even up into central North Carolina, it's going to be near 50 ahead of winter weather that we could see as early as later tomorrow. Back into the west, we're looking at 40s, 50s and 60s, warmer the further south you go in these valleys here out west. But that's about all I have for this quick live stream update on the winter storm and everything else going on. Again, make sure you're hitting that like button. That really helps support this and helps more people see it as we go throughout the rest of the day as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next time right here in a video or live stream. Make sure to stay in tune to the